Good evening, my fellow Canadians. Um, so, undoubtedly, I hope that many of you are aware of this SNC case, and I would like to start with saying that I feel very strongly that there's no, or at least the waters are muddled with confusion about what is the consequence of this ethics code violation for Trudeau and his government. I'm looking at the speech that Andrew Scheer made today, and it looks like the consequence that is going to be paid is that because of the incompetence of this government, Scheer hopes that that will be enough to encourage all Canadians, or at least most voting Canadians, to vote against this man. And that's the consequence of his actions, that he will lose his office. He will lose power, he will lose government, and so on. And his party will be delegitimized. The other thing in question that I find very curious is that one keeps talking about the Trudeau brand, the Trudeau name, the Trudeau brand, as one that is honest, caring, compassionate, and so forth. And I would argue that Trudeau has done nothing, at least since he's been in power, to back that idea. He has done so in a limited scope within his own interests, I suppose. But generally speaking, I would say that his interests have been rather selfish, and they've been displayed very thoroughly in his responses to any cases or challenges or criticisms to when he makes a mistake, like in this case. So I watched the video where he addressed Canadians, and he says he takes full responsibility, but he won't apologize for saving Canadian jobs. And that is an outright lie. He did it for power. He did it for his friends. He did it for his own selfish interests. And I feel like Scheer could elaborate more on the idea of that selfish interest. And I've taken a long and hard look at how the SNC scandal was handled, and I have to say, I'm with Jody Wilson-Raybould. She made the correct decision in that the correct decisions in that moment. She was criticized for recording the conversations with the PMO's office, and I think that was a very wise play. I think that she anticipated that she was going to be unduly influenced, and there would be undoubtedly conversations that were going to be held with her in private to try to influence, to try to pressure her decisions. And she was well aware of that and sort of predicted it. So she prepared herself accordingly to get evidence in case, one day she would bring that evidence to light. And sure enough, it was very useful. So today we see that the ethics commissioner, Mr. Leon, has found him guilty. So now my question is this. Because this scandal is arguably one of the biggest scandals in Canadian history, definitely because of this man's position in government, we've never had a prime minister that has done this kind of scale of incompetence and dishonesty before. Really. People keep trying to compare it to the Mike Duffy case under Stephen Harper. I would say there is absolutely no comparison. This is a willing and deliberate act to corruption, and there's no question in my mind that Trudeau knew exactly what he was doing, and agents of his will, the Prime Minister's office, the clerk, and so on, acted under this man's orders, and there's just no question in my mind that they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew what they were up to. And because of his arrogance and self-centeredness and his power, she said it herself. Jody Wilson-Raybould said it herself. I am well acquainted that the Prime Minister is a man who gets what he wants. It's a full acknowledgement that this person is somebody who knows that they have the power, the control, and will further their agenda at any cost, even if they break the law. And that's the thing that you need to keep in mind. This man doesn't care about breaking the law. Under Trudeau, this hasn't been a democracy. This has been a dictatorship. This has been a government who doesn't care about the people that they step on. And they definitely have no qualms about intimidation of subjects who get out of line or try to challenge their control. So this case truly makes me very angry. As a Canadian, as a taxpayer, I don't think that there's any other response, that for myself, from my position, from where I stand, that that I can't justify that. This person here has deeply shamed and embarrassed Canada abroad, has muddled our reputation, has damaged our reputation with many countries, has proven himself to be an absolute incompetent Prime Minister, and the finest example of that, like the sheer incompetence. And I've looked at many sources. I've seen the fear associated with us, with putting it out there. I watch our Nose Hill MP Michelle Rempel, and even she's very, very, very careful about her wording, and never to get too much out there. She feels the same, that there is injustice that has been done, but she's very careful with her words, even in government. This government, I think, we could get into it much deeper, but I don't want to go beyond that. I just want to say I am deeply, deeply disappointed in this administration, this Prime Minister especially. I don't understand how people could think that there is a Trudeau brand that represents honesty or integrity, especially after his multiple ethics violations and the way that he handles political dissent or any criticism, the way that he conducts himself in the House of Commons, avoiding questions in the public, avoiding questions, getting his goons to attack citizens that question him in public and escorting them roughly from the premises. These are all the attributes of what I would consider a dictator, and somebody who doesn't listen to his subjects, a bad leader, somebody who is ignorant and who cannot control their own impulses, really. So I spoke yesterday on the Daniel Smith show, talking about how Scheer can keep reminding the public of Canada to keep reminding them of these instances. I don't know how many of you remember, but the CBC went full bore on Stephen Harper on the Mike Duffy case. They didn't stop talking about it even after they were blue in the face. They kept on going and going and going every day, right up till the election, and even after the election a few days. And then after, Stephen Harper was defeated, they stopped because they had accomplished their goal, because they had already damaged and tarnished his reputation beyond belief. Even though Mike Duffy was ordered to pay, I think, the $90,000 owed, and that money wasn't even taxpayer money anyways. And Stephen Harper had fully cooperated with the investigation, full transparency, and he still got hung by the media, by the press, who's under the payroll of this guy. So all I can say is, I would like to see a new Canada born. out of this. I would like to see a Canada who actually cares about when people break this law, this ethics code at the highest level of government. There should be consequences for that action, and there should be severe penalties. The old Roman saying, I think, is if a judge commits a violation against and levels a false judgment, that judge must pay, 10 or 15 times the damages of the victim whom he blamed by his incompetence, by leveling a false judgment against him. And, you know, it really, you can see this man, he has no shame, no penitence for his crimes, because there is no criminal punishment for what he's done, and there should be. And I don't think that Scheer should be very confident in that the public will come over to his side, because Scheer himself seems to not be very confident in what he says, and he doesn't feel he should be in a more strong position. He seems to be so very uncertain about what he says. How can the people that want to vote for him feel the confidence in what he says? It's very soft-spoken, despite the severity of this crime and many other crimes. So I don't understand why Scheer, he seems to be quite soft in his approach, but failing to level the amount of importance that this scandal means. You know, I give credit to Trump. Trump calls it fake news. Here in Canada, we're exactly the same, if not worse. The CBC has a lot of fake news going around. And Trump's solution for that was to create his own press, which he did. He addresses the public nearly every day, rallies and so on. And even though it sounds like a broken record, it doesn't matter. He knows exactly the tactic he's using. He's trying to remind people all over the country, make America great again. Here's what I've done in the last month. Here's our economy over the last 6 months. Here's our projected performance. Here's the numbers. Here's the jobs that I brought forward as president since I was elected. It's like, if Scheer doesn't control the narrative, how does he expect to win? You know what I mean? It's nonsense. How can he expect to win? Don't underestimate the Liberal Party, the funds, the people behind it, everything. You know, it's despite this is a severe crime. I still don't fully believe that Scheer could win, and it's a shame, really, because Canada deserves better. Canada does not deserve a person like this to be Prime Minister, and all he's done since he's taken office is slowly but surely destroy our country. So all I can say is, I hope in Canada. I believe there are still many, many good people here, and I hope that that somehow I can reach out to you, because, you know, this guy needs to go. That statement is an understatement, really. I wish that a prime minister could be voted out on sheer incompetence, but it's not the case, and we must wait till the election, and it can't come soon enough. So I thank you for your time and your attention, and I wish you well, any of my viewers. So have a good evening. Good night. Bye-bye.